Good morning and welcome to my channel. I am the menopausal fat girl, and today we're going to talk about why I became a carnivore. I have been overweight or clinically obese for 99% of my life. Even as a teen and preteen, I went to Weight Watchers camp, did fabulous there, worked my butt off. Lost like 30 or 40 pounds, and I wasn't that heavy at the time. No, I was like, around 30 pounds. But I was still chunky, and my mom thought that it would be better from going from middle school to high school if I'd feel better if I wanted to slim down. She left it up to me. I went. It was a fabulous camp. Loved it. Worked my butt off. Literally had the best time. It was a 7-week program. However, the problem with camps like that, in situations like that, is you get up, and from the moment you wake up, you are on your feet, you are moving, you are getting stuff done. However, when you come back to go to school, you can't get that exercise in. And the diet is next to impossible to stay on. In school, and on top of that, the first night I was there, it took me 7 hours to get there. It was the first time I was on a big plane. Of course, I grew up in little planes. My dad had a plane, and then he was an instructor and stuff. So, I grew up in little planes since I was, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. But that was the first time on a big plane, and in the time we lived in Michigan, so I went to Detroit, to Chicago, to either Pennsylvania or New York, but the camp was in Pennsylvania, like on the Delaware River, on the border of New York. And I did really well until I got home. But the first night I was there, I hadn't eaten all day because the flights weren't long enough to serve anything, so by the time I got there, I was starving, and I was late. We were a late flight getting to there, and so dinner was almost over, but they brought me out frozen fish. The fish was not cooked. I raised my hand. I said, I'm a vegetarian. And they're like, but that's not on your physical exam. I said, because it's not my doctor's business. I started eating a lot of vegetarian when I started at the YMCA camp as a wrangler, which means horses. And most of the faculty there was vegetarian, and then they did their own food. So I started dabbling into the vegetarian diet at the age of 9. On top of, I grew up on the lake, went to a one-room schoolhouse, nothing but farmers around us. I spent the summers in the lake, constantly moving, water skiing, swimming, canoeing. The forest was my backyard, climbing trees. I was the only girl out of 5 boys between my cousins and my brother. We all had houses. It was our house, my grandparents' house, and my great-grandparents' house. We lived there year-round, and we were like one of the only houses that did. Most everybody on that side were from Flint or Detroit. So we had the weekend kids. Like I said, I went to one-room schoolhouse. The only girl, the only other person in my grade was a girl who had 5 brothers. I'd ride the motorcycle over. They'd take the motorcycle. I would, don't tell my parents, but they would get the motorcycle. It was just a little square mini bike, nothing big, 5 horsepower on it. But I'd grab I'd grab the farm horse, and I'd take off on the horse, and they'd take off on the mini bike. Or my brother would ride over with me, and he's older, and we'd do that. So, I was active all my life. There was no reason for me to be heavy. My parents didn't buy junk food. So my parents didn't buy junk food. Very rarely did we have junk food. My junk food was like popcorn or pizza. Yeah, in the summer we did like chips and stuff like that, more for the salt content than anything. And I did the same thing with my children. But yeah, yogurt, cottage cheese, yeah, we did have ice cream and of course, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola ended up being 99% of my diet because I just wasn't a big eater. I would graze, but my grazing would be fruits, vegetables, and then the pyramid diet came out, which the pyramid diet was developed in Switzerland in the 70s, I do believe. If I remember correctly, I'm going to research of that a few years ago. And it was developed by the agricultural department trying to find a cheaper way for the lower incomes to get enough to eat. Little did they know, medically, you don't need all that crap. It's all empty calories. Then in the 80s, 90s, the United States got into it. But again, it's all the agricultural department. It is not the medical field that came up with this diet. It was the agricultural. Now, did they do research and ask medical professionals? I do not know. I did not find any of that anywhere that the nutrition was recommended by, you get the things of, 5 out of 10 doctors recommend, but was the research actually there that, that this was healthy? Will it sustain you? Yes, definitely it will. But if you look at statistics, how many people were that overweight back in the 60s and 70s? Look at Woodstock, pictures from Woodstock and the movies and stuff. You very rarely found a overweight, obese person. I remember finding a little hamburger maker. There were these little wooden things that you would put the meat in and you put it in, and the hamburger would be like school lunch hamburgers. This is what the portion sizes were. 7-Eleven, when they supersized the Big Gulp, and then McDonald's jumped into the supersize, and then cracked macaroni and cheese came out. Oh my God, that was the best thing compared to loaf bread that you could buy. Wonder Bread. Again, which is all empty calories and breaks down into sugars. We are not meant to eat grains. Grain is nothing but sugar and empty carbohydrates. Yes, our bodies can run off from it, but in turn, that sugar spikes your insulin. Our body is hormonal, and if you spike that insulin, the insulin's job, the hormone of that, is to store. So here I am, not a big eater. Like I said, I'd maybe eat once a day. As getting into my teen years, I'd only eat maybe once a day, but my main consumption was Coca-Cola. Which again, all sugars, all empty carbs, and I could function on it, but everything that I consumed was then stored. And it didn't matter, I roller skated 6 to 7 days a week. I played football after school with the boys. I was active. And there was no reason for me to be clinically obese or that much overweight. And, so I listened to the doctors, and I stopped going to the doctors because every time I went into the doctors, they were, well, you got to be eating. No, I don't. I eat cheese. I eat eggs. My main diet in school was, 2 eggs and 2 pieces of toast. And then I wouldn't eat that sometimes was all I'd eat for a day. Unless if my mom made dinner. And then we had the lean cuisines. When lean cuisines came out, I'd eat one of those in a day, or it's not like I was heaping up a huge portion on my plate. I've always eaten as what everybody says, like a bird, or child-sized portions. I had a girlfriend who was completely the opposite of me. You know, it didn't matter what she consumed. Her metabolism was so fast. And come like February, March, somewhere in there, you know, being wintertime, snow, in order for her to gain enough weight to wear a bikini to keep it up, to get a butt, to keep it up. I mean, she would eat McDonald's and all this other junk food like 3 times a day. And she would get the Big Mac, the large fries, large Coke, you know, and I tried to keep up with it, and I couldn't. I mean, here I'd get, you know, all I could eat was like a little cheeseburger or medium fry, and that was it for me. But I would stuff myself trying to, you know, appear, you know, how you are. But anyways, yeah, so I followed everything the doctor said. I did like the diabetic diets and so on and so forth, and the vegetarian, and, you know, year and a half ago, 2 years ago or so, as menopause was finishing, I started menopause when I was around 40, and it finally finished about 4 years ago, 4 years ago. I think I've been completely post. But I started putting on the weight. I started getting depressed. It didn't matter what I did. And then I started having issues with being able to walk. I had a lot of sciatic. Plus, on top of, when I was 15, I had a horse accident, broke my back, sheared my hips, 2 years of therapy, blah, 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 blah. You'd be in a wheelchair by the time you're 30 with all these other. Then I had a car accident at 17, da-da-da-da-da. You know. Anyways, so, I mean, I've done a lot of damage. I knew what was going on with that sciatic, but I couldn't get it fixed. I went to one chiropractor. He was a joke. I was also having problems. It was basically the left side of my body. And, you know, went to one guy, and I'm like, yeah, I can't, my shoulder, this is high as I can get it. I can feel it's caught back there. And all he did was grab my arm and went, dude, what the hell was that? You know, I know it takes more than that because I've had more than that happen to be done with a DO. You know, unfortunately, you can't get into the DOs, and they don't do adjustments down here in the South like they do up north. And then I went to another one, and he was more forceful, which I kind of like because I know I'm tough to adjust. However, he ended up causing more damage. I then found a third chiropractor, and he was more into the therapy part of it. And his adjustments were minor. They weren't forceful. And we worked from there, and I started getting better. And I'm like, well, what about a massage therapist? Do you think? And I mean, and that's the thing on that too, is you can put your body back into place all you want. You can put those joints back together, but if that muscle is not releasing, it's just going to pop back in. So yeah, after about, let's see, I was on bed rest. I wasn't even allowed to get on the tractor. I couldn't take care of my animals. And that's why I started selling off the fowl. I was bedridden for almost 5 months. But between all of that, so the massage therapist is what really helped release and get me back into shape. And during this time, you know, my weight, I'm getting depressed. I am retaining water. I mean, I had no leg difference. My ankles were the size of my thighs. I was retaining water. I could feel myself dying. I could feel that I was either going to stroke out or have a heart attack. I was having heart palpitations. I knew I had to do something. And I know going to the doctor was not going to be the course because I've done it all my life. So I started researching again. And then it's like, okay, up your protein, eat more meals. Okay, so I started that, and I was getting worse. So I got back on and I started doing research, and I came across a gentleman on YouTube who was doing the lion diet. So I started watching his videos and a couple other videos, and then it led to Dr. Ken Berry's carnivore human diet, you know, and him breaking it all down. And yes, it makes sense. And so I set a goal, you know, because they say don't go right into it. So I set my goal, and I slowly started into it. My biggest thing was getting away from that Coca-Cola. So that was the thing, because I cannot drink diets. I've always had an issue with diet sodas. And it took me a while, but I finally found the Coke Zero was okay. And then the Sunkist Zero is awesome. However, again, if you are consuming sweets, it can still something sweet. It doesn't have to, I mean, no Zero, you know, has nothing in it, but like the Sunkist is really, really sweet, and your body will still trigger insulin doing that. And so with sweeteners, because your body's like getting, as Dr. Berry said, anticipation of what's to come, even if there isn't sweet there, but you're still triggering that insulin. So you have to be careful with that. I would consider myself a dirty carnivore. I'm not a big coffee drinker, but I do like to have coffee. And God forbid my kids turned me on to Starbucks. I thought Starbucks for you. I'm like, I don't know how you guys can drink that crap. I don't know how anybody can pay $8 for a cup of coffee. Yeah, well, the boys started coming over, and I did. Oh, yep, and that's all she wrote. However, now I have found a way to do that and have my coffee and still have my caramel or my vanilla. And that's with the class. Now this states that there is no carbohydrates and no sugar. However, in the ingredients, it says natural flavors. There could still be a sugar in here that isn't classified as a sugar that needs to be labeled as a sugar. So you got to be careful. I only do, like, I'll have a cup of coffee like once a day. Sometimes I may go a week without a cup of coffee. So, I mean, it's a little cheap. You know, a lot of people use butter in theirs. My husband, who is a pre-diabetic, we have this for him. So he got away from the sugars on that. And it's a stevia. And he really likes it. It's okay. I don't like the aftertaste on a lot of stuff, which it really surprised me that I can do the aspartame in the Coke Zero, because I used to have reactions to it before. But for some reason, in this, when it was NutraSweet, I had reactions. For some reason, now that it's aspartame, I don't know if they changed the chemical compound of it or whatnot, but I can now drink that. And then I have the Circle. I love these things. And I get the one with the electrolytes in it. And I am not paid. I am not sponsored. I'm not anything of any of these things. These are just what I use to help keep my carbs at zero. I get the one that is electrolytes. There's a couple different flavors. 4 flavors, I believe, that do that. I'm not going to go into that because, again, I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying this is what I do. And then when I feel like I need more electrolytes, then I get the electrolyte keto chow, and I'll take one of those, especially here in the summer when it is so hot. And then when you're on the carnivore diet, they recommend that you eat like beef liver and you know, because that's a superfood, and that's where you're going to get your vitamins and your vitamin C, and to do bone marrow and bone broth and to drink that. However, and I like the flavor of like a chicken bone broth, but you really need to do more of a ruminant bone broth Or you can just mix them all together and make your own. I have a hard time drinking that fat. It's just too rich for me. And I love bone marrow, like a beef bone that you cut and you eat the marrow out of it. But again, it's really rich and I just can't do the richness. So what I do in turn for that is I have found freeze dried. And, I just buy these off from Amazon. And, it's pasture raised, no GMOs, no gluten, blah, 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 blah. And they say you're supposed to take 6 of these a day. I only take 3 like 3 times a week just to get it, because you don't have to. There's people who have been on the carnivore diet where all they eat is steak, period, 1 to 2 pounds a day, and they've been doing it for, a decade or more, and they seem to be okay. But better be safe than sorry. And so I have that, and then I have the bone marrow, and then I kind of just bought the Famous just to, throw it in there. Again, I only do those like 3 times a week if I do them at all, and I only take like 3 if I feel I need it, because I've also been anemic through my life, so, just to be on the safe side, to get my iron, even though I eat a lot of beef. I also like lamb. I do a lot of lamb. When I can find it. Luckily, the Publix here in North Alabama carries lamb. And then I do shrimp for the iodine once a week, which reminds me I need to get some because it's been a couple weeks. Trying to just, the moving and everything else is just throwing it all off. And I went from having a Walmart and Piggly Wiggly and all that from 5 miles down the road to I'm back out in the middle of up in Egypt, middle of nowhere, turn left twice, and you may find me. The nearest store is, 20 miles away. So when you go shopping, you go shopping. Thank God that they're doing a lot of deliveries now. I do a lot of Amazon, a lot of Walmart shipping. Of course, I can't for the meats. And now we raise our own beef. However, we've gotten low on it, and I found a local farm that needed to clear out their sirloin because they were the sirloin isn't usually a huge seller. The cheaper meats aren't usually a huge seller. I don't understand why. I love sirloin personally. However, the meat, the fat, the meat content isn't there. So what I do is I eat bacon to size that fat. So like if I'm hungry in the morning, if I end up eating in the morning-ish, and I try to do 14 to 16 hour fast, intermittent fasting, I seem to drop weight better there, and I also feel better, and I don't feel as hungry if I do the intermittent fasting. So I will have like 5 pieces of bacon and 2 eggs. I mean, and that is stuffing myself. God love these people that can do the 24 and 48 hour fasting. I cannot eat enough to make sure I can do that. I had one of the guys that's big on YouTube about it that does the big fasting, telling me eat grapes. I had to start stuffing myself like a competition food eater who sits and eats a bunch of grapes, weeks before to try to stretch their stomach. But I'm just not a stuffer. I've never been a stuffer. And you're supposed to stuff yourself, feel comfortably stuffed and then try to eat just a little bit more. I mean, like last night for dinner, I had 2 brats. I could not eat any more than the 2 real brats that we smoked on the grill. And I had like maybe half a pound, quarter pound of a steak earlier in the day. And that's all I ate yesterday. I did have a cup of coffee. So, and I didn't even eat any pickles. You can do the pickle juice too, and that helps. Your kidneys and when you're doing like the steak and stuff, you need to put salt and stuff on it. Your kidneys have to have salt to work. And you can do the pickle juice. And the pickle juice is great for also rehydration. Like when I've been on the bush hog all day or out in the sun and building and getting stuff done, I will come in and drink some pickle juice to rehydrate myself. And it also helps great with, leg cramps. But that's the reason why I became a carnivore. I mean, and I instantly started dropping weight, and I no longer huff and puff. I was at the point where if I got up from bed and walked out to the kitchen, I was wheezing like an asthma attack. I could not breathe. And yes, I am a smoker too, and I'm a chimney. Yes, I smoke pretty good, which I need to cut back. And now that we're at the new place and we're not smoking in the house, it is cutting me back some. However, I love my porch. I am out on my porch all the time. I'm just an outdoors person, always have been. And yeah, dyslexic moment. My channel, I know I ramble. I know I ramble. And I know I talk fast and I flip subjects really fast. And I don't have all the cool little bait clicks and stuff. And I probably never will, because that's just not me. You're either going to like me or you're not going to like me. I hope that you'll hit that like button and subscribe button and make little comments. And as long as you stay positive in the comments, your comments will stay up. But yeah, I'm getting back into this. I noticed hugely when we were in the camper, and it was just harder to stay to the diet, that I could tell when I cheat. And I don't have to cheat much, but you can see it in my ankles. My ankles start to swell again. I mean, my boots are so loose now. I hate socks. I'm not a sock person. And now I have to wear socks in my boots to keep them on. They're so stretched out from being so swollen for so long. And I'm a farmer. I only live in my boots. I don't care if I have shorts on. I live in my boots. I have my work boots, and then I have my dress boots. And my dress boots are a little tight on me now. So I mean that shows you how much these have stretched out. Because when they're brand new, they're a little tight. And I feel so much better. The energy. I could walk, my farrier noticed it hugely, because I would hurt. I couldn't stand and hold my horses while she was trimming a lot of the times. I would bring a crate with me, and I'd sit there on the crate with the horse, because my back and my hips just couldn't do it. But yeah, and I couldn't chase the horses. It's like they had to come to me. I would shake some food, get them caught up into a smaller area, and then go from there. But yeah, after that, I can walk after a horse all through the pasture. I'm not going to run. Fat girls don't run very well. The only time you'll see this fat girl running is when there's a pig behind me chasing my ass, when I have a bucket of feed to get him up. But I don't know if we're going to get back into pigs here. Anyways, off subject, carnivore diet. This is the reason why I went to the carnivore diet. My arms, you can see, they flab, they wiggle now. I mean, I've always had muscular arms. I had these tattoos done when I was, when it was bigger. There's supposed to be real intricate and detailed, delicate, and you can see where it's just smushed together for me losing weight. The writing isn't as well as it used to be compared to this one. This one's a newer one, where it's, hold my arm better. The muscles are there. And this isn't from working out. I mean, that's just from getting on the diet. If I get back into working out, I'm sure I'll blow up. And then I got this little waddle going on here. I got the turkey waddle. However, I have noticed that my skin is clearing up quite a bit, too. Skin tags are dropping off. I'm smoothing out. I've always had this under, the underbags, but this is smoothing out again. I've always looked younger than when I am. But I've noticed since I started losing the weight, I'm actually looking in my 50s. But hopefully every 3 months, as your body regenerates and rebuilds your cells and replaces them, that this will start to smooth out. I noticed that with Dr. Barry himself over the 2-year span that he has been a carnivore. And again, he has all those in his videos. I will never be able to tell you about this diet as well as he can. And he's got the scientific studies to back it all up. I love the man to death. He saved my life. Literally, he saved my life. And another one I was watching was Bella, the steak and butter gal. She was awesome too. However, she is more geared to the younger general. A lot of the stuff that she does and says is more for the 20, 30. It does not apply to the old woman who's in menopause. But she's got a lot of great information too. And there's a few others out there that have a lot of it. And there are a lot of people that aren't coming to this diet, and they're seeing the difference, and they're feeling the difference. And a lot of people that have huge medical issues. So, I mean, if you are struggling and if you are depressed and you can't get your weight, this is something to try. And to research. I have talked to a lot of people. I've turned a lot of people onto these diets. And just the change in them have been phenomenal, too. We don't need carbs. We don't need sugars. All we need, you have your carbs, sugars, energy. Fat, energy. Get this out, bring this up. You need a lot of people, I try to stick to the 1-to-1 ratio of protein to fat. That seems to work for me. Or even a higher fat content, depending on what I'm doing. And you need like a gram per pound. So let's say I'm like at 186 right now. So I need 186 grams of protein a day. Just, but I don't normally get that. So as long as you feel good, that's the important thing. Research it. Check it out. This is why I did it. Vegetables and fruit were killing me. And I do like the Carnivore every now and then, where I do the avocados and the asparagus and the broccoli, and I eat pickles, and garlic doesn't seem to affect me. That seems to be a plant I can consume, and I love my garlic, and I'll roast it and I'll throw it on my plate along with my, especially if I'm having a really fatty meal, because the garlic seems to help digest that a little bit better, and the pickles and with the fermentation. Now, I have not researched like cabbage, I believe, the sauerkraut, which is another thing that I really love, and that's a great fermentation, and I believe that has 0 carbs too. I need to look at more of the fermentation vegetables. Anything that's fermented is great gut health. And we do that for our animals too. We will soak corn and stuff, and especially for the pigs. And I'm rambling, and I'm going to stop rambling. And I hope you like this video. I am not going to be the average YouTuber. I am who I am. Black and white. I try not to do the clickbaits because it just ends up pissing off a lot of people, like myself. And I have quite a few channels that I really love and I watch. A lot of the other homesteaders I do watch. Because we all learn from different things. Anyways, off subject of what a carnivore is, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. If you want to have something you want me to cover, I'll be more than happy to cover. I will put Dr. Barry's link down in the description if you want to check him out and learn more about the carnivore diet. He's got a lot of great videos out there, and there's also psychologists that backs that up too, that he does dual videos with. He can break it down a lot better than I can. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a human nutritionist. I am an animal nutritionist. As being a farmer, we all need to learn about that to make sure that our animals stay healthy. And they're the omnivores, even though a lot of them are, yeah. But anyways, Like, subscribe, share, comment. Positive comments, negatives will be removed. Don't care if you don't like me. Don't care what you talk to me about. You know, that negativity does not faze me. You can't hurt my feelings. I already know I'm fat. I'm old. I'm a weeble. I wobble. I don't fall down. Y'all have a great day.